My name is Fela Kuti. Fela means he who emanates greatness. Anikulapo means one who has death in his pouch. Kuti means one who never dies.
Fela Kuti is the most popular and notorious musician in Africa. He's also the most original force in African music since the war. He's probably the only band leader in the world to be charged with sedition, armed robbery, and abduction. To add an extra frisson, he's known in the West as the man who married the entire female personnel of his band in a single day. He's the creator of a form of African music called Afrobeat, which fuses traditional African rhythms with whooping, exultant big band jazz. Since 1971, he's released over 40 albums, most of them lacerating the rulers of his native country, Nigeria, and their Western business associates. His targets are public corruption and police brutality. Needless to say, he's been less than popular with a succession of Nigerian governments, and his political message has put him behind bars 8 or 9 times. When Nigeria had its third successful military coup a year ago, Fela Kuti was one of the first critics to speak up. He was arrested once again in September, and 3 weeks ago sentenced to 5 years imprisonment on alleged currency charges. It's the climax of a struggle that has its roots in his westernized family background 46 years ago.
Everything was European background. The upbringing, the teaching in school. Oh, my father was a pastor, you know, a pastor. And everything had to be English and everything. We were not even allowed to speak our country's language in schools. We called our own languages vernacular. So English was the real language you had to speak in school, so everything was English.
Fellow Ransom Kuti, he christened himself a Nicolapo 35 years later, grew up in the last days of colonialism. The new Nigerian middle class was busy trying to imitate European values.
nobody was thinking of whether to be African or not. We just accepted that we were English, and anybody that went to England for studies was a master. I never thought about being African as such, you know, so it didn't mean anything to me until much later in my life.
In 1958, he came to London to study at Trinity College of Music.
It was in England I started to feel the awareness of having to be an African, because for the first time I started to feel, oh wow, so these white people don't like us too much. You know, this is my experience from having to rent rooms, you know. At that time you read the newspapers in England, house for rent, no coloreds, no dogs, so that annoyed me a lot. In my student days in England, I started to be aware of having to be an African. But we had nothing to offer as Africans because we were all just taught English.
His English years coincided with the birth of independent black Africa. The spear carrier of independence throughout the continent was Ghana's first Prime Minister, Nkrumah. He coined the idea of African personality. New African states should be governed by their own traditions and not by imitation European ones.
Nkrumah's outburst in Africa was always printed here. People started to respect Ghana in England because of what Nkrumah was doing. And he made us very proud students in England then.
In 1969, he arrived in America with grandiose plans for a career outside Africa with his own band.
When I went to America from '69, America took me by surprise completely. So I was quite quiet. I wouldn't speak to anybody. I was just listening to people.
And if this country fails as a people to respect the human rights of those of African origin living in this nation, then we should ask our African brothers who represent 34 or 35 states at the UN to take our case before the United Nations and charge the United States with the violation of the human rights of 22 million Americans of African origin living here in this country.
Fela ascribes his education in black politics to one of the new generation of radical Americans, a woman called Sandra Isidore. He says that after his failure to become an American, she taught him how to be an African.
She was telling me about Africa. He says, and don't I know that the Africans taught the Europeans everything that they know today? I said, no. I said, talking shit. You know. I said, there are books. There are books that are saying that. I said, show me a book. And she gave me Malcolm X to read.
Black people should realize that freedom is something that they have when they're born. Let us agree that the blow must be struck. And let us agree what type of blow must be struck, and at whom the blow should be struck, and then those who don't go along with that strike, we can struck them first. We need an organization that no one downtown loves. We need one that's ready and willing to take action. any kind of action. Not when the man downtown sees fit, but when we see fit. By any means necessary.
Now I saw the missing link of my subconscious all the time. I said to myself, wow. Even I've not been really playing African music, and I had a band at that time. Because I took my band to America at the time. It was complete failure because of visa problems and things. I said, I see. I said, I think I must go back home now. And really go and start to play African music. Even if I don't succeed in America now, I don't care.
Tisha, Tisha, oh, Tabina, let her rap your name. Tisha, Tisha, oh, auntie, let her rap this. Make you not teach me, hello. What's you teaching me this year, since the day don't die, hello. What's you teaching me this year, since the day don't die, hello. What's you teaching me this year, since the day don't die, hello. Me and you not there for the same old category. Me and you not there for the same old category. Me and you not there for the same old category. Me and you not there for the same old category. Not the same category, oh. Not the same category, oh. Not the same category, oh. All the wahala, all the problems, all the things what we think that you could do for this world did they start when a teacher, schoolboy and schoolgirl jam together. Whoopee teacher, I go let you know. Whoopee teacher, I go let you know. Whoopee teacher, I go let you know. When we be picking, when we did for school,
teacher, teacher.
When we did university,
Lecturer, teacher.
When we start to walk,
Government teacher.
Who be government teacher, culture and tradition. Who be government teacher,
Culture and tradition.
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 Now the problem side of a teacher student I go sing about.
I was thinking to myself, if I want all the Africans to hear me well, I cannot sing in this language because they won't understand. So I have to speak in the language that they all understand, and that is the broken English.
I don't pass speaking, I don't pass school, universities never pass. As I don't start to walk, now government I must confess to. You go for France, England, Italy, Germany, and them culture. For the British, for them you go Russia, China. Go
When the English language came, the Africans subconsciously felt that the language was too stiff. Africans are very virile language makers. That is why in Africa there are over 2,000 languages.
Let us face ourselves for Africa.
So they had to find a language that could make them feel that they still wanted to be together in some form and not allow the stiff English language to divide the feelings among themselves.
You know, go asking me. 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 Problems of inflation, problems of corruption, of mismanagement, still by government, still by government. Now here we they carry all over Africa. Now the latest one, now him they make me laugh. Austerity, austerity. Now the latest one, now him they make me laugh. Why are they laugh? Man no fit cry. Oh, be our tisha na oyibo. Be our tisha na oyibo. All of us before election. And the second election all in Nigeria. Now the second election now he was a pass. Babala nonsense. Babala nonsense. He passed the rigging. He passed corruption. He passed regime. Which kind of lecture be this? People no go vote. They come get big numbers. Thousands to thousands. Millions to millions. Which kind of election be this? Babala nonsense. Babala nonsense. Na democracy be that yo. Na democracy be that yo. Kuti shall see democracy. Na oyibo tishi hosi. Na oyibo for Europe. Boti shots many things. Many of them things I don't sing about.
One of the latest songs I'm singing now, the tape. No, I said, teacher, don't teach me nonsense. Right. Now I was trying to let some of my people see, because in Africa people respect teachers. You know, teachers because they teach English and they teach their pupils, you know. Respect teachers and pastors, you know, in Africa. So, okay, now I saw that I should now use teacher as my focus. So I said, I titled the song, Teacher, Don't Teach Me Nonsense. Now, I now wove the song into letting the people see that white men have taught us everything we know. But I made people see also that one important thing they taught us was politics. Because I wove in the song to the elections in Nigeria, because it was a farce. Now I mentioned democracy. Now in English, an Englishman will say democracy. But if the African man wants to say it in broken, he will say democracy. You see now. I now thought of the word. I said crazy. That's now I saw craziness. I said I could now see let my people see that democracy really is not that word, that it's really madness, you know. So I said, now I started to sing. I said, I start to think of this word democracy. Democracy. Crazy demo. Demonstration of grace. Crazy demonstration.
Democracy, crazy demo, demonstration of grace, crazy demonstration. If it no be grace, why for Africa? As time they go, things just they bad more and more. Poor man they cry, rich man they mess. Democracy, crazy demo, demonstration of grace, crazy demonstration. If good do teacher teaches something and the student make mistake, teacher must talk so, but do Igbo not talk so. And somebody them they support that is no say them teaching get meaning, different meaning, different kinds of meaning. That is why I sing it, that is the conclude of my song. That is the conclude of my song. I say, I sing, I beg everyone to join my song. I say, I sing, I beg everyone to join my song. I say, I sing, I beg everyone to join my song. Teacher, teacher, oh, that is a lecturer, your name. Teacher, oh, and the lecturer, it is it. Make you not teach me again, oh. Facility finish, yes, it's a day you don't die. No. Facility finish, yes, it's a day you don't die. No. Facility finish, yes, it's a day you don't die. Me and you not there for the same old category. Me and you not there for the same old category. Me and you not there for the same old.
Let us now start to think that really what we should do is for our culture to guide the running of the government. So I want people to see that Africans should now be thinking of themselves as being greater people than the teachers, you know. So I said, me and you, not for the same category. To be an African, you really must have to think and understand yourself and your culture much more. When I was writing this kind of music, I was playing America, I was not thinking that way. I thought I must really think deeper and really go deep into rhythms and melodies of Africa and feel Africa much more.
On the surface, Fela's music sounds a lot like jazz. There's a 9-piece brass section and a standard jazz drum kit, and solos that range in style from Sonny Rollins to Stan Kenton. But what Fela has developed has been recognized as unique. The sound rides on insistent Yoruba rhythms, with funk-influenced organ riffs in the middle, topped by repeated chants that link his music to that of traditional Nigeria. really a praise singer. African court musicians are paid to praise their patrons, but they can also be bitter satirists. His songs are on a huge scale. Some of them last over 40 minutes, and they make hypnotic use of the oldest of African forms, call and response. Call from the singer, response from the chorus. When Fela returned to Nigeria in 1970, it was a battle-scarred wreck. Divided across tribal boundaries, the original federation collapsed at the end of the 60s, and the Biafran War left the country paralyzed, putting an effective end to Nigeria's first democratic civilian government. For the next 5 years, the country was ruled by the military autocracy of General Gowon. The establishment of a one-party state in Nigeria was accompanied by an unexpected oil boom. Gowon's stability was financed by the multinationals. Lagos became a boom city, with the fastest building program in Africa and a reputation for the most widespread corruption in the Third World. Fela's music reflects the contradictions of the city: sudden wealth and perennial poverty, tradition and change. When he returned to Lagos, he started a club called The Shrine. The Shrine promoted his books and pamphlets as well as his music, and he decorated the walls with appropriate icons.
At the beginning, I thought it was going to be easy. I thought it was going to be a very easy thing for me. You know, because when the idea came to me, I was smiling to myself. I said, wow, when I started to sing about Africa in my songs, I said, wow, people will like me, you know. No, I mean, I said even the government will start to ask me to play. I wrote a tune called Buy Africa, B-U-Y. And at the time, the government was making a lot of noise that people should start to buy African made in Nigeria things, you know. So I thought, oh, this record is good for the government too. So I took the record, wanted to, you know, ask, I saw a minister one day, sitting down in the hotel. I went to him. I was discussing this record with him, you know. I just happened to meet him. And someone introduced me to him. I said, oh, this is my chance to talk to this man. So I talked to him very honestly, you know, straight away. I said, look, I've got this record by Africa. I think you should listen to it and see what the government could do about it to help. So because it's the kind of things I want to do, you know. The man looked at me. Oh, he said, yeah. You know, the answer he gave me that day was, it was like I hadn't said nothing. Understand? You know, that I haven't said nothing. That's the kind of answer he gave me. I was so disappointed. I was shocked. I said, how could a minister think like this? He said, I was just thinking like a youth, you know, not knowing exactly. I had not really studied the government. I had not even known these people. I was just a youth, you know, in a car, enjoying myself in town, you know, trying to make a hell of a noise and having a nice time. So I was shocked. I said, wow, so this is how these people think? So these people, I said, so he doesn't care. He don't care what they say. Oh, it still didn't really bother me much. I said, okay, well, I said, maybe they realize one day what I'm doing. So I kept playing my music. But then, I started to feel, I started to see a feeling of antagonizing towards me First, the police was sent to my house. I was taken to court for no reasons at all. I said, what was happening?
Wherever it went, Nigeria's oil wealth didn't find its way into the public services. In the mid-70s, Fela wrote a song called Confusion, comparing the chaotic state of Lagos to a decaying corpse. Fela's latest song is a reworking of that 1975 composition. The confusion in the city has become so uncontrollable that Fela's imagery has become completely surreal. The dead body has been run over in an accident, and confusion has broken its bones. In 1975, the authorities decided to silence him for good. They raided his compound and threw him in jail on an abduction charge. They'd already tried and failed to charge him for armed robbery, and the abduction case met with as little success. In 1976, they decided to adopt more drastic strategies.
They brought axes to cut down the fence, and they came to the house and started to break the house up and everything. But before they entered my house that day, it took them about 3 hours. Now, if you see 1,000 soldiers surrounding a house in Lagos, 1,000 soldiers surrounding a house, this really draws a lot of crowd. There were about 60,000 people watching this scene. It was like a big theater show. People standing on the highway, cars had to stop. It's big, go slow. No, cars couldn't move. Because I had electrified the fence, you know. So anytime they touched the fence, the soldiers, they had to run back. So they had to order the electrical authority to turn switch the lights off in the area. So that was when they could start to get in, you know. But that one didn't take a short time, it took them 3 hours, you know. So that was the advantage that one gave me. So people could really see that I was being attacked without attacking anybody, you know.
I sang a song some time ago. call am confusion. Then I me never burn my house. All money they blow for Lagos. Then
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke lau, lau lau,
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke lau. My people think say Nigeria done day. Me as I see am, I know say Nigeria go down. How country go they making money? Make people of country no see money.
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke lau 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 lau,
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke lau lau lau.
Karudu Rebeke,
I see many things in Nigeria.
Karudu Rebeke,
I see many wrong things in Nigeria.
Karudu Rebeke,
Some time ago I come sing one song.
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke lau, lau lau,
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke lau. When I say confusion, everything out of control. When everything out of control, it go be say, Ipapuka, oh, oh, oh.
Papuka na kwe,
Papuka bibi, hospitulu.
Papuka na kwe,
Papuka bibi, police station.
Papuka na kwe,
Papuka bibi, mortuary.
Papuka na kwe,
Papuka bibi, mortuary.
Papuka na kwe,
I sing about one city from Lagos. They call her Moju Elegba. I take a compare how Nigeria be. One crossroad in center town.
Karudu Rebeke,
Rebeke
You get confusion in Lagos when at the crossroad there's no policeman in the center. The government had tried to erect traffic lights for the past 20 years, and they had to demolish them because people never obeyed the traffic lights. So you put policemen there. But many of the times policemen are not there because policemen too are very corrupt. So they just go out of the side of the, they leave their post and go and do something else. So at the time they leave that place, the cars everybody just force, it's first come, first serve. Everybody just starts to squeeze in. So it comes to a point where the whole place is so jammed that nobody can cross. So this is what Lagos is about. So I wove that into confusion breaking bone.
Forward-to Elegba, forward-to Elegba, forward-to Elegba, forward-to Elegba, forward-to Elegba, forward-to Elegba. What would they come from east? What would they come from west? What would they come from north? What would they come from south? And police him and not the for center. Na confusion be that you.
Papuka na kwe,
Papuka Pipi police station.
Papuka na kwe,
Papuka Pipi mortuary.
Papuka na kwe,
And then I say confusion now waiting you.
Confusion na wa,
And then I say confusion now waiting you.
Confusion na wa,
After you no take police and me come over no my house. After you no take police and me come in my house. I started to think. I started to think. Say police will go help people, now them the born so. Say army will go defend citizens, now them the born so. This the time now around 1975 and 77. Police go seize expensive goods, then started to burn them. Army go market anything will cause the money, they burn them. Army go market anything will cost me, they burn them. Why them like to burn the things, it will cost the money. Government will sell to people cheap. Government will dash people with no get the money. Now the burn, na him the sweet it them pass. Na the born, na him the sweet it them pass. Oh yeah, oh, 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 born.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, oh, 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 born.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, oh, 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 born.
Now saw the danger of me really taking hold of the country just by word of mouth, you know. Because after they attacked my house, they had to lay police checkpoints in all corners of the country because they thought there was going to be an uprising. Because they were really afraid what happened that time. And they kept me in jail for 30 days. I shouldn't come out. And I mean, they made sure I didn't make any protest and all this kind of thing because, and they banned me from playing music for a long time. You know, they didn't let me play music. I was really banned. Don't play, you know, music.
My problem is no small at all. Nothing there for me to sing about. All the things where I see, I know like all of them I see, I sing about. If something good do they I go sing. Nothing good self they to sing about. If I sing, say voodoo, nothing.
holy sleepy that,
Oh, all the who's be that, yo.
holy sleepy
If
that,
I sing, say water, no day.
holy sleepy that,
All the who's be that, yo.
holy sleepy
If
that,
I sing, say electric light, no day.
holy sleepy that,
All news be that, yo.
holy sleepy
I
that,
come sing, say inflation.
holy sleepy
I
that,
come sing, say mismanagement.
holy sleepy
I
that,
sing, say corruption.
holy sleepy
I
that,
come sing, say stealing by government.
holy sleepy that.
Fela's songs are old news in the literal sense. When the military government ended and Shagari became Nigeria's first civilian leader for 10 years, Fela was one of a number of influential Nigerians who called for an end to corruption. When Shagari's anti-corruption campaign failed, the Nigerian intelligentsia was the first to express its bitter disappointment.
Some mindless person could take it over, and then you will be in an Idi Amin situation. Now, I don't want that kind of change, and this is why we ought to fight to bring about rational change through democratic processes.
There's been a kind of brutalization of life, of values, of man's attitude to man.
The country has gone through a state of moral decadence. It's not only at the top, but also at the bottom. I believe that the society needs a little bit of purification.
Now you say Shagari is a thief, you know? I say, okay, if Shagari is a thief, I agree Shagari is a thief. But Shagari has said before that he met empty treasury in the government when he arrived there. I said, okay, fine. He said, now look. I said, everybody now look what's happening. I said, but do you forget that Shagari is in charge of police and army? I said, that means the police and the army are like Shagari too. I said, who's going to solve the confusion now?
We don't want division. We don't want north-south confrontation anymore. We want all Nigerians, wherever they are, to regard themselves as brothers and sisters.
We did not confusion in breaking
Where Fela differs from his contemporaries is in his isolation. Writers like Ashebe identified with Nigeria's official opposition. Fela chose to go it alone and formed his own political party. The government was offended not only by his principles, but by his outrageous lifestyle. Although Fela explained that his multiple marriages were a response to harassment and rape by the police, the Muslim government found his values unacceptable. When the oil price slumped in 1981, the lights in Lagos went out and the public services collapsed. The latest military coup was at the end of 1983. It didn't take Fela long to start picking holes in the new military government, and it took them less than a year to decide to deal with him. He was seized 2 months ago at Lagos airport and accused of smuggling £1,600 out of the country. He protested that he'd declared the money, but the customs claimed to have lost his currency form. He was jailed on remand for 6 weeks. On the 8th of November, he was sentenced by military tribunal to 5 years imprisonment without appeal.
For those who do not know, Fela has been arrested about 2 months ago when he was traveling to the US with his band. Was arrested at the airport for a foreign currency default, which didn't allow him to tour in the United States. He was last week sentenced to twice 5 years in jail in Nigeria. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Beko Ransom Kuti, Fela's younger brother, who just came from Nigeria to hold this press conference.
Could you tell us something about Fela's current state of health and person in prison? What's his current state at the moment?
Well, physically he's not doing too well. In the last 2 months, he's been locked up in a room 20 feet by 20 with about 100 people around, and 8 of them have to sleep in the toilet, rotate to sleep in the toilet because of the space, and he's not feeling too well. I mean, as a doctor, I know his health is deteriorating, but his morale is quite good.
They want to silence him, but they can't silence him. He has at least 20 albums of music, all of which stirs up feelings of anger, really. Through his music, he speaks to the people and calls for change.
I feel that the government himself cannot stay 5 years in power. I think in any case the government will be out of control as soon as possible. So, if not, I cannot imagine Nigeria and Africa running without Fela. Fela was the only voice coming from Africa, so I cannot imagine that Africa can run without the spirit of Fela.
One thing I want to assure them if they think I'm going to change or compromise in my attitude, in my way of life, or in my expression, or in my goal towards politics, they are making me stronger. And I'm much more stronger now.
To boldly go where